I think the single dumbest phrase in military history is our diversity is our strength. I think our strength is our unity. Our strength is our shared purpose. In this department, we will treat everyone equally. We will treat everyone with fairness. We will treat everyone with respect. And we will judge you as an individual by your merit and by your commitment to the team and the mission.
Hi again, everybody. It's 5 o'clock in New York. Apparently, the Defense Department treating others with respect and judging an individual's commitment to the mission includes a very brazen and comprehensive effort at rewriting history, removing stories that honor people of color and minorities who have served in the past in the U.S. military. Today, the page of the Pentagon's website acknowledging the service of American hero Jackie Robinson displayed a, quote, page not found error message. Jackie Robinson served in the U.S. Army during World War II before he went on to become a baseball legend, breaking the color barrier of Major League Baseball in 1947. The URL of Jackie Robinson's page was updated to include DEI before the story's headline, indicating that it was likely taken down as part of the Trump administration's and Pete Hegseth's purge of everything and anything related to diversity, equity, and inclusion now, yesterday, or all these years ago. Jeff Passan, a baseball columnist for ESPN, noticed that the website had been removed and posted this, quote, "The ghouls who did this should be ashamed. Jackie Robinson was the embodiment of an American hero. Fix this now." Now, that edict and the outcry from Passan and others had its intended effect, we are happy to say. Late today, Jackie Robinson's page was restored. But Jackie Robinson's was not the only page caught up in this purge of anti-DEI fever at the Pentagon. A webpage dedicated to the service of Ira Hayes, a Native American who served in the Marines and was one of the 6 men raising the flag, American flag, on Iwo Jima in this iconic photograph, was taken down. According to the Washington Post, multiple articles about the Navajo code talkers who were critical to America's victory at Iwo Jima and the wider Pacific theater of the Second World War were also removed, along with a profile of Tonawanda Seneca officer who drafted the terms of the Confederacy's surrender at Appomattox toward the end of the Civil War. The AP reported that according to a database it obtained references to a World War II Medal of Honor recipient, the Enola Gay aircraft that dropped an atomic bomb on Japan, and the first woman to pass Marine infantry training are among the tens of thousands of photos and online posts marked for deletion. There was a removal of video footage of the Tuskegee Airmen in training videos for members of the U.S. Air Force, although they were later put back by the Pentagon after facing a similar backlash. Also returned after being removed was a webpage dedicated to Major General Charles Calvin Rogers, a Black Medal of Honor recipient who served in Vietnam. And reporting in the military news outlet Task and Purpose found the Arlington National Cemetery's website had, quote, scrubbed dozens of pages on grave sites and educational materials that include histories of prominent Black, Hispanic, and female service members buried in the cemetery. Richard Brookshire, co-CEO of the Black Veterans Project, had a scathing indictment of these efforts, saying to The Guardian, quote, the full-throttled attack on Black leadership, dismantling of civil rights protections, imposition of unjust anti-DEI regulations, and unprecedented historical erasure across the Department of Defense is a clear sign of a new Jim Crow being propagated by our commander-in-chief, end quote. That is where we start the hour. Some of our favorite experts and friends. Retired U.S. Marine Corps Lieutenant Colonel Amy McGrath is here. She is the founder of Democratic Majority Action PAC. Also joining us, Democratic strategist, MSNBC political analyst Basil Smikle. And with me at the table, New York Times editorial board member, MSNBC contributor Mara Gay. Amy, I start with you. Your reaction.
Well, look, they can try to change history, but they can't change the simple fact that minorities and women have been serving in our military, and women and minorities have been serving at very high levels. doing very hard jobs and performing extremely well. Look, when you think about women in the military, you know, we have 5,000 women right now serving in the infantry, armor, artillery, 500 officers serving in those roles, hundreds of pilots, over 150 women, female Ranger, U.S. Army Rangers. They can't take that away. But here's what this is all about. They're trying to hide this. They're trying to hide this. Pete Hegseth, Donald Trump, and those leaders, they're trying to pretend that these accomplishments didn't happen because those accomplishments offend them. And it offends them because they're, you know, small, immature, and insecure men. And that's what this is all about.
When they got caught, they put Jackie Robinson's page back up, but they also issued a statement. And I do want to read their statement to you. It's from the Pentagon today. Quote, "Everyone at the Defense Department loves Jackie Robinson, as well as the Navajo Code Talkers, the Tuskegee Airmen, the Marines at Iwo Jima, and so many others. We salute them for their strong and, in many cases, heroic service to the country, full stop. We do not view or highlight them through the prism of immutable characteristics such as race, ethnicity, or sex. We do so only by recognizing their patriotism and dedication to the war-fighting mission, like every other American who has worn the uniform. DEI, discriminatory equity ideology is what they call it, does the opposite. It divides the force, erodes unit cohesion, and interferes with the service's core warfighting mission. We're pleased by the rapid compliance across the department with the directive removing DEI content from all platforms. In the rare cases that content is removed either deliberately or by mistake that is out of the clearly outlined scope of the directive, we instruct the components and they correct the content so it recognizes our heroes for their dedicated service alongside their fellow Americans, period." So, Amy, do you understand that to mean that if you're famous and Black, female, or Native American, we'll put you back up?
I guess. I mean, the whole thing is just really dumb because what you're doing is you're just erasing inspiration. You know, Nicole, when I started out as a young Marine officer, you know, going through flight school, guess what? My heroes were John Glenn and Alan Shepard. Yeah. But you know what? My heroes were also Rosemary Mariner and one of the first women pilots in the U.S. Navy, and Matisse Wright, the first Black woman naval flight officer, because I wanted to be a naval flight officer. I knew those names because the military championed them. I knew the name of Charlie Bolden because the military championed one of the first Black NASA astronauts and fighter pilots. And you know what? They inspired me just as much as Alan Shepard and John Glenn. Because why? They looked like me. I looked at them and said that they could do it, I can do it too. That's what this is all about. You're just trying to erase inspiration here. It's really dumb. And here's the part of it that hits home. We need to recruit the best talent in this country. And the best talent, guess what? They come from all different races, and they're men and women, and that's what we need to get for our military of the future. And so in my mind, this is just dumb.
Basil, where is your head on all this today?
Well, to Amy's point and to the other points that have been made, this is a complete erasure. So, you know, Black Americans in particular are overrepresented in the military in many respects. Black men in military service, Black women in civilian service. So let's level set a second. There have been Black Americans that have fought for this land, on this land and abroad before America was America, since the Revolutionary War. If you move forward in time, the Harlem Hellfighters, for example, saw some of the most significant service in World War I and carried one of America's, if not the American original art form, jazz, to Paris and to Europe. Fast forward to the Tuskegee Airmen. Two of them I got to know very well later in their lives. Percy Sutton, a business leader and politician, attorney for Malcolm X and his family. Also Roscoe Brown, Dr. Roscoe Brown, a scholar and teacher in the City University of New York system. And they talked a lot about these sort of dual identities. They traveled across the world and fought in Europe. And when they saw the American flag, they thought about safety, and they thought about home. But when they got home, they experienced some of the most horrific discrimination that you could imagine. And considering that even after the war, the New Deal that featured very significantly the GI Bill to help and support veterans coming home, they weren't even allowed to embrace and take advantage of a lot of those opportunities specifically because of their race. So when you take this erasure and you try to write this singular narrative about America, what they're saying is that for Black Americans in particular, and certainly for people of color and for women, DEI is essentially amounting to an asterisk, that your Americanness and your patriotism isn't quite like everybody else's if we acknowledge your contributions. And you know what? There is no American history without their history. And as others have said, it flies in the face of what history, what the kind of history that we should be telling and teaching.